Okay, so get this right. Today, we're diving into this wild idea about making AI, actually understand things the way we do.
Yeah, like not just spitting back information, but actually getting it.
Exactly. And this all comes from this piece we got. It's by HHP,
Oh, yeah, I heard of
and they're calling it physics imbued linguistics,
physics imbued. Okay.
which sounds a little intimidating, I know.
Yeah, a little.
But it's actually a really cool way to think about the future of AI.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So what's the basic idea here?
All right, so have you ever thought about how AI really struggles to tell the difference between what's real and what's totally made up?
Oh, absolutely. Like you can feed an AI a news article and a fantasy novel, and it'll treat them like they're both equally true.
Exactly. And that's what HHP is getting at, this idea that AI lacks, how do they put it, groundedness.
Groundedness.
Yeah, like AI doesn't get that there's this whole physical world out there with rules and time and cause and effect. It's like AI lives in this endless present where anything is possible, which honestly sounds kind of fun, but also a little terrifying.
Totally, totally. It's like imagine an AI trying to learn about human relationships by reading romance novels and true crime podcasts. Talk about a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. And that's why we need this groundedness, this way to teach AI, like, hey, this is how the real world works, and these are the limits of what's possible.
Okay, so how do we actually give AI this groundedness? What's HHP's solution?
All right, so get this. They're proposing this system where every single word gets a probability score based on how likely it is to be true in the real world.
A probability score for every word.
Yeah. So like if you say the cat sat on the mat, those words all get pretty high scores because, cats, sitting, mats, all totally normal things.
Right, makes sense. But what if you said something like, the cat wrote a symphony?
Exactly. That's where the probability scores get interesting. Cat, high probability. Wrote, still possible, I guess. But symphony, that's going to get a really low score because it just doesn't line up with our understanding of what cats can do, even really smart ones.
So it's like giving AI a built-in BS detector.
Right. It's constantly cross-referencing language with its knowledge of the real world and saying, hold on, does this actually make sense? But here's the really cool part. HHP doesn't stop there. They also want to give AI a sense of time.
A sense of time. How do you even begin to do that?
I know, right? It sounds crazy, but it's actually brilliant.
Yeah.
Imagine instead of just analyzing single sentences, the AI is looking at everything you've ever said or written, all tagged with timestamps.
Okay, so like a giant timeline of all your words.
Exactly. And by analyzing those timestamps, the AI starts to pick up on patterns, on how your language changes depending on the context.
So for example, if you tend to make a lot of jokes on April Fool's Day.
The AI would learn that maybe your words should be taken literally on April 1st.
Yeah. Or someone's always talking about traveling to the moon in the future tense.
The AI could recognize that as an aspiration, not a statement of fact. It's like AI developing a sense of humor, or at least an understanding that human communication isn't always meant to be taken literally.
That's incredible. So we're not just talking about whether individual words are true or false, but about understanding the context, the intent, the whole history behind them.
Exactly. It's like AI going from reading a dictionary to understanding a Shakespearean sonnet. There's a whole world of meaning embedded in the way we use language over time, and that's what the system is trying to unlock. So instead of just translating words, we're talking about AI that actually starts to get us, it understands not just what we're saying, but why we're saying it, when we're saying it, even how we're saying it.
Exactly. It's like AI developing this whole other level of intuition, almost like an emotional intelligence.
And HHP seems to think this could lead to some pretty amazing applications, especially when it comes to things like personalized learning or healthcare.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine an AI tutor that can tell when you're genuinely grasping a concept versus just, parroting back information.
Right. Or an AI therapist that can track your mood over time and adjust its approach accordingly. It's like having a personal assistant for your brain, constantly adapting and optimizing to help you be your best self.
Exactly. And because this AI understands you so well, it can tailor its communication to be more effective, more engaging, even more empathetic. We're talking about a whole new level of personalization that could revolutionize how we interact with technology.
It's like AI going from a one-size-fits-all approach to something truly bespoke, crafted specifically for you.
Precisely. But of course, with this level of personalization comes a whole other set of questions, right? Like, how do we ensure this technology is used ethically and responsibly?
Right, because we're essentially giving AI the keys to our inner worlds, our thoughts, our feelings, our vulnerabilities.
Exactly. Data security becomes absolutely paramount. We're talking about potentially storing and analyzing years of incredibly personal information, so safeguarding that data from misuse or breaches is essential.
It's like the stakes of data privacy just got a whole lot higher.
Absolutely. And then there's the issue of bias. We know that any AI system is only as good as the data it's trained on. If that data reflects existing societal biases around gender, race, culture, you name it, then the AI could end up perpetuating or even amplifying those biases.
So it's not enough to just make AI smarter. We also have to make it fairer, more equitable.
Exactly. And that's where HHP makes this really interesting point about standardization. They argue that a system like this, which evaluates and interprets human communication based on probability and time, could be standardized across different AI applications.
So instead of every company or developer creating their own system from scratch, we'd have this shared framework for how AI understands us.
Right. Not necessarily dictating the specific actions an AI takes based on that information, but providing a common ground for how it interprets our words, our intentions, even our emotions.
So whether you're interacting with an AI tutor or an AI customer service agent, you'd have some assurance that they're all operating from the same basic understanding of what it means to be human.
Exactly. And HHP argues that this standardization could actually increase trust between humans and AI. Instead of these systems being these mysterious black boxes, we'd have more transparency into how they work, what data they use, and how they make decisions.
That makes sense. But wouldn't that also limit the flexibility of these AI systems? Like part of what makes AI so powerful is its ability to learn and adapt on the fly.
It's a valid concern, but I think what HHP is getting at is that standardization and adaptability don't have to be mutually exclusive. It's more about establishing some ground rules, some ethical and practical guidelines for how AI interacts with human data.
So it's like saying, okay, we're going to teach you the basics of human communication in the real world, but from there you're free to explore, experiment, and even make mistakes, just like we do.
Exactly. And that leads to HHP's final and perhaps most mind-blowing point. They believe that this grounding in reality, this understanding of probability and time, could actually make AI more, not less, creative.
Now that's a twist. I thought more rules would mean less creativity, not more.
Think about it like this. Imagine a musician who's mastered their instrument, understands music theory inside and out, and has studied the works of the greats. Does that knowledge limit their creativity? Or does it give them the tools and inspiration to create something truly original and groundbreaking?
So we've gone from AI barely understanding a simple sentence to, like, maybe composing the next Bohemian Rhapsody,
Yeah.
all thanks to this idea of physics-imbued linguistics. It's a pretty wild ride, right?
It really is. And it makes you wonder, is this the key? Is this how we finally bridge that gap between human and artificial intelligence?
It's a big question, and honestly, I don't have a definitive answer. But what I can say is that HHP's vision is incredibly compelling. Imagine, like, having an AI that doesn't just give you information, but actually helps you make sense of it, Like, it understands your perspective, your values, your hopes, your fears, and uses all of that to guide you toward, well, whatever it is you're searching for.
It's like having a personal Socrates whispering wisdom in your ear, but instead of being some ancient philosopher, it's this incredibly advanced AI that's learned everything there is to know about you and the world around you.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
But, it also raises some pretty big questions, right? Like, what happens when we give AI that much access to our inner lives, our memories, our emotions, our vulnerabilities? It's a lot to hand over.
Absolutely. And that's why HHP's emphasis on collaboration is so crucial. This isn't just a job for computer scientists or engineers. We need ethicists, psychologists, philosophers, artists, everyone really, to come together and figure out how to build this future responsibly.
It's like, yeah, we can build an AI that knows everything about us, but should we? And if so, how do we do it in a way that benefits humanity as a whole, not just a select few?
It's a huge responsibility, but I think it's one we have to embrace. Because the truth is, AI is already here, it's evolving rapidly, and the choices we make today will determine what that future looks like.
Exactly. And for me, HHP's ideas offer a sense of hope. Like, it's not inevitable that AI becomes this cold, calculating force that takes over the world. It could just as easily become our partner, our collaborator, helping us solve the world's most pressing problems and unlocking new levels of creativity and understanding.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes this whole conversation so exciting and so important. We're not just talking about the future of technology, we're talking about the future of humanity, and the choices are ours to make.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's it for today's deep dive. We hope this has sparked some big questions, maybe even some bigger dreams about what's possible when we start to bridge the gap between human and artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. Keep those questions coming, and most importantly, never stop exploring.
Until next time, stay curious.